These are the 13 things you must avoid if you really want to be rich. The second one is the most dangerous one, because what you're missing actually is you're consuming a lot of information with less execution. Fear is a mile wide but an inch deep. Our mind is always looking for the best way to keep itself safe. That's why when you start learning new things, you start feeling confused. Most people always aspire to have that car, that house, that vacation. You want to be able to take care of yourself, take care of your family, but then you don't want to commit to the process that makes it possible for you to achieve these things you want to achieve. I see a lot of people saying that they want this result, but when I tell them what it takes to get this result, they back out. They say, oh, that they are comfortable where they are. Okay, they start giving you lots of reasons. So in this video, I'm going to outline the top 10 things you must avoid if you really want to achieve wealth and do it fast. I'm going to attribute all of these things under one name, which is ego. Ego is one of the things that has brought down a lot of men. And the funny thing that I even realized is, in as much as this is what brings down a lot of kings, men that have already achieved most things, it's also what is stopping people from achieving these things. So I'm going to outline the 10 types of ego that is holding you back. Most of these egos I'm going to outline, you recognize them. So once I say the one that hits your nail, type it in the comment section. Okay, so I realize that most people display this ego, but they don't know that they are displaying this ego. Hence, it is hard for them to stop it, because you can't stop what you're not aware of. The first kind of ego that you should avoid or stop is the blame other people ego. You always have someone, a situation, or a circumstance to blame. Nothing is ever your fault. You're a perfect snowflake. In most conversations I've had with people that are broke or they want to make a certain amount of money, most of them always have something that they are blaming. They always have someone that is responsible for their inactions. They never take responsibility. If you're still in your teens or you're in your early 20s and you're still blaming your poor background for the reason you're not rich or the reason you cannot make money, because there's a difference between blaming something for your situation and blaming something for your inability to take action for your situation. The second one is the most dangerous one, because quite all right, you were born into a poor family. That's okay. Nothing can be changed about it. You can't go back to your womb and decide to select who you want to come out of. You have been born into this family. You have been born into this city. You've been born into this particular country. There's nothing you can change about it again. But then if you die broke inside that same country, inside that same city, in that same situation, it is now your fault. So I want you to realize and take into cognition that you are in charge of whatever it is that happens to you once you're more than 10 years already. Once you've lived 10 years on the surface of this earth, you are solely in charge of your responsibilities, your actions, whatever the decisions you make. So if you're still here and you're blaming your parents for not doing what your peers' parents did to get them rich, for keeping you in the situation you are in now, please click off this video. You are not supposed to be watching this video. You blame a certain circumstance, you're still blaming your parents, saying that they are the reason. If they had only given you better education, if they had given you better food, if they had given you better shelter, that you will be more successful. That is what is keeping you broke, because you don't want to accept responsibility. You don't want to take charge of your life. Remember, whoever it is you blame, you put your hope, you give your whole power. If you say, oh, the reason I cannot be rich is because he kept me in this position, guess what? That person has power over you. And it's so funny how lots of people want to be independent, lots of people want to have power over themselves, but they unconsciously give power to other people. They unconsciously give power to certain circumstances, and then they still battle to have power over themselves. If you're still blaming other people for the reason you can't put your head down, study, carry out research, work, and make money. If there's still a situation or a circumstance or a certain kind of person that in your mind is the reason you can't take certain actions, stop it today, because that is what is still keeping you broke. You need to learn how to take charge of your life, take responsibility for your actions and your decisions. The second kind of ego that is keeping you broke is the know-it-all ego. Now, this one particularly kept me broke for a long period of time. You believe that you know it all, but then you don't have the results. What still makes you believe that you know it all? A time came in my life where I felt like I had watched all the kind of videos I needed to watch to make money. I had read all the kind of books. Looking back in retrospect now, I hadn't even read up to half of what I was supposed to read. I hadn't even done up to half of what I was supposed to do. to make a certain kind of result or to get a certain kind of outcome. So if you're still believing that, oh, I've tried everything that needs to be trying, oh, anything they're saying right now is not it, I've tried it, it's not working, that is the know-it-all ego. You believe that nobody can correct you. You believe that you are always right. You know, you prefer being right to being rich. That is a very, very wrong thing to do. If you think that by being right, it will put food on your table, how is it going? This can be on the side of pride, and this can be on the side of confusion. So speaking on the side of pride, you believe that, oh, I've read all the books that needs to be read on how to make money online, on how to sell, on how to do this. I haven't done anything, and I'm not seeing any results. The mistake or what you're missing actually is you're consuming a lot of information with less execution. So if you want to break out of that know-it-all loop, try do-it-all loop. So instead of know-it-all, do it all. Everything you know, have you actually implemented them? The answer is no. Because if you have actually implemented them, you will not be broke. On the side of confusion, you know, you feel like you consumed like 3 different types of information and they're all jumbled up in your head. And because of they're all jumbled up in your head, you feel overwhelmed. And that overwhelm now makes you feel like, oh, you've gotten a truckload of information, but then there's nothing to be done. When you find yourself in this kind of situation, the best thing to do is to sit down, shut off all sources of information and work with what you have already. Excess information is what brings about anxiety. You know what to do, you know a lot of things to do, but you can't figure out how to start doing it. That's what brings about anxiety, and anxiety brings about paralysis. So you have a lot of information, but you cannot analyze them. That is called analysis paralysis. If you want to avoid being broke, drop the know-it-all ego and pick up the do-it-all ego instead. The third type of ego is a very, very interesting one because I experienced this a whole lot of most part of my journey, and it's called the fearful ego. The fearful ego. You want to do something, but you're afraid of doing it. I'll tell you from my own point of experience. What really made me not to try out new things because of the fear factor was mostly because I was afraid of leaving my comfort zone. Now, this comes in 2 ways. You are afraid, and there's a very interesting analogy I heard from one of the people I admire very, very well, Leila Homozi. She said, fear is a mile wide, but an inch deep. So when it comes, it looks like it's encompassing every single thing. It gives you the extreme consequences of what will happen if you try what you do. But then if you now take a step into that stream or that river, you know, is a mile wide and an inch deep. When you take a step, you now realize that, oh, it wasn't even as bad as I thought it was going to be. That book you don't want to read, that action you don't want to take, that conversation you don't want to have, in your mind, you're seeing it as a mile wide. Pictured all the things that could go wrong. But until you move 5 minutes into that book, until you move 5 minutes into that conversation, only then will you realize that this wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's not easy, but then it's not as hard as I thought it will be. Fear is only an illusion. Fear is something you would always experience. I used to think that people that have established a lot of things, those billionaires, those millionaires, those people that are extremely good at what they do, I used to think that, oh, they never encounter fear again. You know, fear is something that is only meant for the beginners. Fear is only meant for those that are starting out. No, everybody experiences fear because everybody learns every day. Everybody grows every day. Fear is basically leaving your comfort zone into a new place. Your body, your mind is not yet ready. We have been wired to survive, not to thrive. Our body is always looking for the best way to keep the body safe. Our mind is always looking for the best way to keep itself safe. That's why when you start learning new things, you know, you start feeling confused. You start feeling afraid. What if I'm learning more than I'm supposed to learn? You know, you start coming up with different concepts that all these things are just defense mechanisms that your body is screaming, I don't want to leave this comfort zone. But the trick here is you slowly accustom yourself to that new standard. You slowly take your baseline to that new standard. When you've lived in a place for the past 13 years and then you're moving to a new house, you know, it's usually not a very comfortable thing to do. But once you realize that people that do the most things, people that achieve the big feats are those that leave their comfort zone on regular basis. So they don't settle. I want you to understand that what bravery is, what courage actually is not absence of fear. It's the presence of fear, but the willingness to act despite the feeling of that fear. Even when that fear is choking you, that willingness to go ahead and do that thing that you're afraid of is what is called courage. Nobody goes into a battle feeling happy. Nobody goes into a battle with joy. There's always this tingle of fear. But what makes them courageous is they know the consequences. They know what they are going to face, but they still move in. You can't call someone that didn't know what to expect, courageous. You can't call a soldier that was moving into a battle with the information that there's only 3 people he will meet, and all he needs to do is just shoot them because they are with cutlasses. You can't call him courageous because, of course, he will move in. He wasn't expecting it. There was no fear. But the person that is moving into the battle with the information, the army he's going with, the opponent has twice that army, 10 times the size of that army. The person that still moves into that battlefield, even when they know what they are going to expect, is who is called courageous. So that fear is always going to be there. That fear is our body telling you, please don't leave this comfort zone. I've heard a lot of acronyms for fear, but this one really stood out for me. Fear is basically false evidence appearing real. So your mind creates pictures, likelihoods of things that could happen if you do what you're supposed to do. But until you carry out that action, you can never know what was actually on the other side. God puts the best blessings on the other side of fear. So even though you're feeling it, go ahead and do it. That moment when you feel like you're paralyzed, that moment you feel like what you're about to do is impossible, that if you do it, you'll die. You know, when all those exaggerated extreme conditions are so vivid in our minds, that's the moment you go and do what you know you're supposed to do. That's the moment you jump. Because I promise you, on the other side of fear is bliss, is peace, is growth. So kick out the fearful ego. And that's the only way you can take on big opportunities, take on big tasks, take on things that will push you from your normal version to the better version of yourself. And that's the only way you can make a lot of money. The next kind of ego is the comfort zone ego. I touched this a bit in the fearful ego, but then I'll elaborate on it more. Like I said, our body was built not to thrive, not to advance, not to explore. Our body was built to manage what it has. That's why if they take out certain things from your life, give it 2 weeks, you think that, oh, you're going to die, that you can't survive with this phone, you can't survive without this phone, you can't survive without this internet. Give it 2 weeks and you realize that, oh, your body is already accustoming. Your comfort zone is that place of peace, you know, that place where you know you are in charge. Most people don't want to go and make extra money, don't want to push themselves to become more hardworking because they feel they are going to lose control. And of course, you're going to lose control because you can't expect to grow and still be in control. You can't expect to grow and still know what you're doing. The essence of growth is confusion because you're moving into new territories. So if you remain in your comfort zone is always the best place to be. Now, if you think that making 100K in a week is good, if you think that 100K in a month is good for you, kudos, you've won. Our standards are not the same. Your standard with someone else that wants to make 10 million naira per month is not the same. Okay, so if you think that is enough for you, you've won. But then, if you know deep down that where you are right now is not where you actually are supposed to be, you're supposed to be doing more. You feel it, you know it, you cannot escape that feeling. I heard this from Chris in his interview with Alex Omozi, where he said there's always the guy in the other room that clears his throat. And that's like the little voice you hear in your head. So you're making 100K weekly, you're making a certain amount weekly, but you know deep down that you need to do this, and this, and your sales would automatically skyrocket. But because you're scared that you might burn more money, you're scared that it might not work out, you prefer to stay in your comfort zone. You prefer to still act wise. You prefer to still feel important because where you are right now is where things are going well for you. Your comfort zone is not only your income, it could be in your environment. So where you are right now, you're the one that is making the most money. Where you are right now, you're the best at what you do. And then you get daily praises, daily appraisals from people telling you, oh my God, I love what you do. You know, you keep feeding your ego. That is your comfort zone because you're in charge, because you have everything on your table for you. But let me tell you that that's the best way to be broke. Because if you see a certain amount in your account and you throw your feet up the table, that is a sure way to go downhill. So that is what is still keeping you broke. If you're not courageous enough to leave your comfort zone, everybody knows their comfort zone. 1 million naira per week can still be someone's comfort zone if they know that they can be making 3 million naira per week. The comfort zone ego is what is still keeping you broke. The next type of ego is the judgmental ego. Let's do a little test. When you're walking down the road and you see a young guy your age or young lady your age drive past you with a very sleek sedan car, and you happen to hear the booming music in the car, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Most people, the first thing that comes to their mind is, daddy's money. Only God knows where he got this money from. Probably just one cash out from crypto. Oh, he's doing Yahoo. That's one of the first things that come to our minds. If that's what came to your mind, that is part of what is keeping you broke. Because you cannot attract what you reject. You cannot attract something and reject it at the same time. It's not possible. You won't even get it. Either it stays halfway or it's not even close to you at all. So if you're the kind of person that judges rich people, and no, this could be a huge contribution to this thing is probably in your environment, the background you came from. Most of us, where we came from, our parents were always telling us horrible things about rich people, telling us to stay away from rich friends, that they just horrible stories that as we grew up, we associated these stories with the idea of having money. So that's why when you see yourself, you start making a certain amount of money, that thought starts coming to your head, and then you slow down. It happened to me. When I made my first million, I stayed on that spot for like 3 months. Why? Because it was weird. I was not used to the feeling of, I want to get something and I could just get it immediately. I grew up always wanting, when the thought of something comes to your head, it took like a long period of time before you actually got it. So that feeling of, I want this, and you look at your bank account and you can actually afford it, I was not used to that feeling at all. And so I took breaks. I took a pause. It's reflected in my businesses. I started trying to see things, I started trying to test out new things. Basically, that thought of rich people, these are the way rich people are, and I don't want to be associated like that. Judgmental feeling, the judgmental ego. You think you're perfect. You think poor people are the most honest people. And let me break it to you that there are rich, honest people. And the bitter truth is, you cannot test a man's honesty, true honesty, when he's broke. You only test it and get a man's true identity when you've given him a certain amount of money. So I started thinking of it this way. Instead of being the person that criticizes the poor people, the rich people, where will you always be? You will always be down. Why not network with them? Get to know them more. That's basically what saved me. So if you're still if you're still basking in the judgmental ego of, anybody that has a lot of money, they are doing it illegally. You're always trying to pin someone's wealth to an illegal way, an illegal means, or you're always trying to pin someone's wealth to something that is not legal. How do you think you make a lot of money? When you do that, automatically you're training your brain to believe that the only way you can make a lot of money is when you do something illegal. So even with the business you're doing, even if there's a way of making millions of dollars from that business, you would never see it because you have blocked your mind already not to see it. You think that, if you're doing legal business, that you only make a certain amount of money. You can't make crazy sums. So leave that judgmental ego, because it's one of the things that are keeping you broke. The next kind of ego is the excuse ego. There's always a reason for you not to do something. There's always a reason why you have not started making money. I have this particular friend that always has a reason why he cannot start a business. Either he tells me, you don't understand. Only if you were in my shoes. You've not seen what I've seen. They always have an excuse. Why are you not making money? We have lectures from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. From 12 p.m. we have practicals. You always have a reason not to do what you know you want to do or what you are supposed to do. You will never make enough money if you have excuses. You cannot make excuses and make money. You have to make one. So either you make excuses or you make money. Choose one. How do you resolve this ego? Again, if you want to solve something, if you want to heal from something, you always have to be aware of it. You can't heal what you're not aware of. If you're not aware that you're sick, you can't cure the sickness. So you have to be aware that, the reason I'm still broke is because I give a lot of excuses. When you're now aware of that, you now start pinpointing the excuses you give. So whenever you catch yourself, is it's a habit already. So you need to understand that it's a habit and not something that will stop overnight. So whenever you give an excuse, you ask yourself, is this really what is stopping me? You dig deeper. And I promise you, what you're supposed to do will always find you. The other guy in the other room is still clearing his truth. That's you, that little voice in your head is still whispering to you. You know what you're supposed to do, but you're still trying to find excuses not to do it. Aside from making money, you know you're supposed to record this, but then you're saying, oh, there's no light. Oh, my phone is still spoiled. Oh, my mic is not working well. Oh, when I record this, someone might come inside the room and I don't want any interruption. You know, you always have a reason not to do something. Switch it. If you want to kill the excuse ego, always have a reason to do something. You can have 1,000 reasons. You will always have 1,000 excuses not to do something. But guess what makes the difference? You just need one excuse to do what you know you're supposed to do. Tell me in the comment section which excuse have you been given for not doing something, and tell me the excuse you're going to start giving to actually do something. Tell me the reason you're going to pick to actually do something today. The next kind of ego is a very, very interesting one, and tell me in the comment section if you've experienced this kind of ego or if you still have it. It's the people-pleasing ego. You want everybody to be happy. See, if you want to make a lot of money, know that you're going to piss a lot of people off. If you want to make a lot of money, know you're going to step on a lot of toes. People that receive the most criticisms, those that are making changes, the only person that does not receive a lot of criticisms, that person that is always in their room, watching movies, watching videos, you know, they have nobody controlling them again. They are not making any difference in the world. And that's why they will never get any criticism. Now, if you want to be that kind of person, go and be that kind of person. Know that you're not going to receive any criticisms. But for those that are watching this video and want to make a difference in their lives, in their country, in their people's lives, know that you're going to receive a lot of criticisms. Know that you're not going to please everybody. Know that you are only going to please the right set of people. Other people that are not your audience, other people that are not meant for you, will get angry. And you need to get comfortable with it. Big celebrities, big influencers still get criticisms. And I learned it. I actually was the kind of person that I wanted to be the most loved. You know, if everybody loves you, you're not going to make enough money. That's the truth. If everybody loves you, that means you're not doing anything. But if you have what you stand for, do you think it's everybody that loves Coca-Cola? There are people that hate Coca-Cola. But then it is what it is. Because a certain kind of people hate Coca-Cola doesn't mean that they will stop making drinks. They have to continue making drinks. Why? Because there are people that love Coca-Cola. So the kind of content you make, the kind of things you do, you need to learn to kill other people's dreams for you and make your own dreams alive. If you want to keep your own dreams alive, you have to kill other people's dreams for you. Now, let me tell you the truth. The bitter truth is most people's dreams for you is at the end of the day what will still suit them. Most people will not want you to be more successful than they are. People want you to be successful, but not more successful than they are. So if you have everybody telling you kudos, 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 it's probably because you haven't started pushing boundaries. You haven't started pushing against. You haven't started passing. You haven't started crossing them at what they do. Someone is making ₦1 million per month or ₦1 million per week, and you're making 10K per week. They are definitely going to cheer you on. They are going to be happy with you until you start making ₦2 million per week, until you start making more than they make, and they'll start criticizing you. And the only way you can get that person to start praising you again, to start liking you again, is if you go down to making less than ₦1 million per week or per month. So you see, you will never please everybody fully. So have your truth, have what you stand for it strongly, and move ahead. The next kind of ego is the justification ego, and I see this a lot. I hear this a lot. Tell me if you have this ego. Justification ego is, oh, I'm too young, I don't wake up that early. You're justifying what is stopping you from doing what you know you're supposed to do. You're supposed to make money online. You're supposed to make money for yourself if you want to be an independent student. But you say, oh, I'm still a student. Oh, I'm too young. I can't expose myself to the wearies of the entrepreneurial world. Oh, I don't have enough money yet. Therefore, I can't do this. You justify your inabilities to cage yourself from attaining what you truly are capable of doing. I've met a lot of people that carry this ego. Probably they don't know they have it, or some of them know but are not willing to change it. You know, someone comes to you to ask for advice. And when you tell them what to do, for every single tip I give, they have something that is countering it to make me understand why they can't do it. Why did you not come for advice in the first place? Someone wants to help you, but then you already have a battalion of reasons why you cannot do what they want you to do, or why you cannot do what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to follow up on your customers whenever they buy from you. Say, oh, I don't have enough data. And because I don't have enough data, I will not do it. Try and learn this skill, even though it's free. Be like, oh, it's free, but my phone is not good enough. The screen cracked, therefore I cannot learn it. You're justifying yourself. You're fanning your flames to not do something. That is why a lot of you are still broke. Type in the comment section if this is one of the egos that you have. The next kind of ego that really affected me is the masking ego. The masking ego is being a fake person. You're lying. You try to be who you are not. Common thing that we all see online is people living the fake lifestyle. That one is established already. Let's talk about those who try to be who they are not. You want to sound intelligent, but deep down, you know that you're not intelligent. Probably you saw a quote somewhere and you just copied and pasted it on your status so that you get that dopamine hit of people liking the post and saying, oh my God, this spoke to me. You're saying things that you just read from a book, or you're in a rush to watch videos. You're in a rush to watch motivational videos, not to get motivated, but to quickly download it and repost. Or you're in a rush to watch a motivational video so that you look for the best motivational video that can motivate someone else when you're not even motivated. You're trying to be who you are not. When I realized I was like this, I fell into this trap of reading books. And when you're reading books, your mind is tuned into writing down the punchiest lines so that they will sound good to the public. And when they sound good to the public, automatically, something that sounds good to the public, the person that made that looks good to them. So you want to sound good so that you can look good. I was in that loop for a long period of time, reading books to get the punchiest lines so that I can copy and paste and get that dopamine hit from people liking the post. That was not who I am. So I took a long break, not a very long break, but then when I realized, when I was aware of this, that most of these things I post, I can't actually explain them. Most of these things I post, I don't practice it. You are living a fake life. You tell people things to do, but then you don't do it. Sooner or later, to catch up with you, and always start with your bank account. You cannot hide it. You tell people how to make money online. You're the one that is preaching the money-making guru, but you're still broke. You're trying to be a fake. That's what we call the fake ego. You're a fake person to people. By the end of the day, deep down, you will still know that you're lying, that you're not telling the truth. So how do you stop this? Take time to reflect on yourself. Take time to not seek other people's opinions. Take time to work on yourself before you decide to work on other people. When you're reading a book, that urge is always there. The fake person ego urge is always there. When you get when you see a quote, before you even process it, it sounded so good to you. You want to copy it and paste. Pause. Take 3 seconds. Don't share anything for the next 1 month. Don't post anything that you are not sure of. Only post things that you genuinely know you can post. Things that you have practiced. Things that you have ruminated over. Those are the only things you are permitted to post. When you buy a book, before you read it, you want to take a picture and post on your status and say, we are ready to do this. Let's get on with this, baby. No. Until you finish reading that book, can you talk about the book? Don't announce to the world what you are going to do. Let them see it with your results. I learned this very well from the movie world, because I'm a very huge fan of movies. I love acting. So the movie world, the entertainment industry, they only talk about things they've done. They don't talk about things they are going to do. So you don't see a movie director or a movie producer saying, we are going to. Whenever the movie trailer comes, it means the movie is done. So the hype and everything that always comes with it is the finished work. So they have done it and the praise is now coming. That's good. I'm going to wrap up with this story. I saw a post on Instagram the other day that was announcing the biggest movies that will come out next year, 2026. And we all know Zendaya. Zendaya is an actress I really love. She doesn't talk too much, if you know her. She doesn't announce, she doesn't post too much, even with the millions or hundreds of millions of followers she has. She doesn't show off and everything. When I saw this list of movies that were coming out, it just occurred to me that Zendaya was going to be at least 5 of them. 5 big, massive blockbuster movies. And she hadn't even talked about anything on her status or on her story or on an Instagram post. Because certainly for these movies to be coming out next year, it means for the past 2-3 years, she has been heavily working from one set to another. And now, most people, even when they get the gig, they already throw the announcements. When I saw that, it just hit me. I just felt like I've been talking too much. You know, that honest feeling of you haven't even achieved up to half of this, but you're the loudest about it, about what you do. So that day I decided that for every single action I'm going to take, for every single big decision I'm going to make, I'm not going to announce it. I will let the results play out and do the announcements for me. The way the movie announcements were doing the announcements of the hard work she had gone through, that's the way I want my results to talk about the hard work I put into my work. So you don't come out and say, oh, I work so hard, I do this. Your results should show how hard you work. So tell me in the comment section, which of these egos do you have? Which of these egos have you been displaying? Which of these egos are you willing to drop today? Tell me in the comment section, I would love to know. And again, most of you have been reaching out to me, telling me about the fact that they watch most of my videos, but they want to know the best business, the best place to start, the best skill to learn, the best business to start with. I've recorded a full 30-minute video explaining the best skill you can start with, especially in this year 2025. Okay, so I'll link the video in the description. Once you're done with this, rush to that video. It's one of my best performing videos, so a lot of people are actually rushing it. So towards the end of the video, for those of you that want to work closer with me, I made an opportunity available for that, so you can take it if that's what you want. So for our routine, like this video if you really got value from it, subscribe if you want to know when next I upload, and share this video to just 3 of your friends that are displaying any of these egos. 3 of them, not more, not less, so I can help them change it. And as always, where you are right now is not your final destination. I shall see you at the top.